What is up, guys? Welcome back to Off the Shelves. It has been a while, but this is going to be worth it. This is going to be a massive episode. Not only do I have a ton of new buys for my Blu-ray collection, but I also have 3 different horror packs here. If you're not sure what horror pack is, this is a subscription service where you sign up for different tiers depending on how many pieces of DVDs or Blu-rays you want, and every single month you get a little mystery package on your door of horror Blu-rays, some of which are actually exclusive to horror packs. So we're going to have 3 different packs of those we're going to unbox at the end and see what surprises we got. But I've got new releases, I've got older movies that I've bought for the first time, I've got 4K double dips, little up converts we're going to talk about. So with all that being said, let's just go ahead and kick this thing off with the new releases. And starting off, we have Bones and All. And this is one of the movies that I saw at Fantastic Fest and one of my favorite movies that I saw at Fantastic Fest. Probably not a film that I'm going to rewatch all that often, but certainly one that I wanted to have in my collection. This is by Luca Guadagnino, the guy that did the remake to Suspiria. And it's essentially a cannibal love story. And as wacky as that seems, it is a really well done movie, really good performances, very well directed, and it is brutal as all hell. So I thought the love story stuff was very sweet and endearing and beautifully tragic. I thought all of the gory, gnarly cannibal stuff was pretty carnage candy fueled, we'll just say. So I definitely recommend this one. Go out and buy it. Now we've got a movie I have so much to say. The unrated version of Megan, just the Blu-ray, of course. They don't do 4Ks for horror sometimes. So this is a movie that came out in theaters that, I wasn't overly excited for, but went to go check it out, and it was decent. It was a pretty good little time. So I'm not a hater whatsoever of Megan. I will certainly go check out a sequel. Hopefully they'll do a little bit better. My daughter, especially, my 6-year-old, is just in love with Megan at this point. It's like her new Chucky. But this whole unrated theatrical thing has just been a gigantic, annoyance to me. Where the movie comes out, you go and watch it, and it's very clearly cut like in the post-production side of the movie to avoid some of the gorier kills to get it a PG-13 rating, because they got a lot of hype on TikTok. They wanted to appeal more to that younger demographic and get more money, and seemingly it worked out for them because it was a very financially successful movie. And you got all these people on the internet that are doing that whole gatekeeping thing about the merits of PG-13 horror and how there's so many amazing PG-13 horrors. You guys think that rated R makes everything good. And it's like, no, motherfucker. When there's a movie that's made to be a rated R slasher and you can tell that it was chopped up to not be that suddenly after the movie was made, it's a little annoying for those of us that like a little bit of gore. And so all those people going on their soapboxes about how it was always made to be PG-13 and it was the vision from the beginning, and then within a couple of weeks, what did they do? They announced an unrated version is going to be coming out, the true version of the movie. And so everybody got hyped up. You go check this thing out on Peacock or buy the Blu-ray like I did, and it's not even really worth discussing. Like, the kills that they throw back into there is not really much more there. It's a little bit gnarlier, but not a lot. Really, all of it, the unrated side of it, comes from throwing in a lot more profanity. They say fuck like 17 more times in the unrated cut. So, good movie. Certainly good if you're like somebody that likes Chucky movies and everything. This is basically a modern retelling of the Child's Play 2019 remake. So I enjoyed it. I just feel like the unrated theatrical PG-13 drama was just overblown and stupid. So I would say stream that one. Oh, one of my favorite films of last year. You've got The Menu. And this is another movie that I saw at Fantastic Fest and was my favorite film out of Fantastic Fest. I absolutely loved this thing. It was an absolute surprise. It is a black comedy satire on the restaurant industry and rich elitism and so many other things. It is such a smartly written movie. Got really good performances, especially by Ralph Fiennes here as kind of the main antagonist. I'm a foodie, and so all of the restaurant lingo and the food lingo and culinary lingo, I absolutely, no pun intended, ate all that up. And I just thought this was a brilliant movie. So if you are a fan of anything that I've described, absolutely go out and buy this one. This one might be the best of this bunch. We'll find out in the editing stage. Then you got another movie that was a nice surprise last year, Violent Night. And, you know, this could have very easily been very dispensable, very stupid, but it's basically Die Hard with Santa in the John McClane role, and I really enjoyed that. David Harbour was great as Santa. I thought John Leguizamo was really good as the main villain. There's a lot of really cool little in-jokes and almost like lore, if you want to call it that, with Santa Claus, with some of his powers and some of his kills that I thought was really entertaining. And so this is a movie that's probably the best Christmas movie that I've seen in a long time, and absolutely will become a staple in my household during December. So go out and buy this one. Now, we have made it to some of the older films that I have bought for the first time, some of which I've never seen before. So we had this little Vestron Video Collector series come out of The Dentist, which is 2 films, The Dentist and The Dentist 2. And I've never seen the entirety of The Dentist, never seen anything from The Dentist 2. But I remember it being pretty gnarly. I used to see bits of the first Dentist on like Showtime or Cinemax or something, where he was just getting pissed off at this chick and just destroying her tooth with a little drill. And so it was cheap enough, it was like $10 or something for both of these movies, that I wanted to check it out and give them a shot. Eventually I will. It's not going to be on my priority list, but I'll have it on my shelf whenever I'm ready. That's the beauty of physical media. So can't give you a rating on this one, but I wanted to check that one out. A really underrated movie, in my opinion, and it's an old Tony Scott movie that nobody talks about, and that is The Fan. So this came out recently with this old VHS-style slipcover here, and essentially you got Wesley Snipes as like the new big baseball champion, if you will. He's the new hot star, and you've got Robert De Niro as like a super fan. And as Robert De Niro's life slowly starts to deteriorate, he becomes more and more infatuated with Wesley Snipes' character, to the point where he actually starts killing people to try to help Wesley Snipes' career. It's a really good movie. It's underrated in my opinion. It's not like, you know, one of Tony Scott's best, but Tony Scott's got some amazing movies. So for Robert De Niro fans and Wesley Snipes fans, I think you get a lot out of here. I think Robert De Niro is very charismatic and creepy in this movie, and I just like it. I've always enjoyed it. So as somebody that doesn't really care for sports, I do like a good sports movie, especially when it's a little twisted. So check this one out. I would say stream it. I don't know if there's anything particularly special about this, but I decided to buy it anyway. This new Paramount Presents version of Ghost, a movie that I have not watched very much, but every time I watch it, I really enjoy it. So I don't really need to say much more about it. It's one of the more celebrated movies of all time. You got Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore here, really good storyline. I think it won, winner of 2 Academy Awards. So yes, it did win some Academy Awards. Very good movie. So I just wanted to check it out again, and might as well buy a newer version to do that. I would say go out and buy that one, though. That's a very good one. This is one that I'm going to defer to my buddy Brian Lomax for. So he is always talking up The Relic. And so this was like $5 or $6 or something on Amazon. And so I just decided to take the plunge and check it out. I don't think I've ever seen this before. If I did, it was a long time ago and I've forgotten everything about it. But love a good monster movie. Tom Sizemore, unfortunately, just passed away. So that was probably one of the reasons it was kind of being promoted a little bit. So I figured I'd check this one out. Now moving on to all the 4K double dips, all the movies that I have already on my shelves, but I want to have the better looking versions of them. We'll start off with these because they go together, and I bought the Best Buy Steelbooks of the first 4 Rocky films. Rocky, Rocky II, Rocky III, and of course Rocky IV, and this one does have both the theatrical cut and the Rocky vs. Drago director's cut. Now there is a bit of an issue with these Blu-rays that I'm still kind of tracking online. Apparently the actual box set had issues where there was like different sound channels and a different aspect ratio in some of these movies. Some issues that happen sometimes when they rush out these little collector's editions. I don't know if that applies to these individual steelbooks. I imagine they do. So that's something to keep in mind. Maybe don't buy these right away because there might be an issue. They might be recalling them or redistributing them at some point. But as far as steelbooks, I wanted to have the individuals because I liked the steelbook look to them more. I did not like the box set, especially when it doesn't even have 2 of the Rocky films in there. So I'd rather get these, and then eventually when they release steelbooks for Rocky V and Rocky Balboa, I can just add those. But Rocky is absolutely go out and buy it. Rocky II, I would say is a go out and buy it by a hair. Rocky III is a stream it. Rocky IV is a go out and buy it. I love all these movies, don't get me wrong, but Rocky III is one of my least favorites, although I enjoy every single one of them. So I have not watched them to see how much better they look, but I just got done reviewing all these films and watching them, so I'm probably not going to be in the mood to watch them anytime soon. All right, moving on from old Rocco. Now we have a 2-movie collection of 48 Hours and Another 48 Hours. I've actually never seen Another 48 Hours, but the first one is very funny. That's actually the first Eddie Murphy comedy. I slipped up when I did my top 10 movies of 1983, and I said that Trading Places was his first comedy. It was actually his second. Just one of those things that happen. When you don't take notes and you just like to talk off the cuff like I do, sometimes you fuck some shit up. So for those that commented, all 75,000 of you telling me that 48 Hours was his first, you're right, it is. 48 Hours, very funny movie. Haven't seen it in years. One of the bigger things I remember about it is that I believe this is the one that's got James Remar as the villain. I always love that. Maybe some dated humor here in regards to how Nick Nolte treats Eddie Murphy, but it's still comedy gold if you allow yourself to laugh at it. So I'm curious to rewatch that and finally check out Another 48 Hours. Now we have the 4K edition of Dawn of the Dead. This is my favorite zombie movie of all time. This Zack Snyder remake of this. I'm not a massive zombie fan. As much as I love Resident Evil and things like that, the movies and especially shows like The Walking Dead have kind of burnt me out on it. So if I had to do a top 10, there would only be maybe 5 of those movies that I'm really passionate about. The other 5 are like, and here's 5 more I can tolerate. But this has always been one of my favorites. I saw it in theaters, loved it then. Every single time that I rewatch it, I think it's just fucking awesome. It's still my favorite film by Zack Snyder. Sorry, DC fans. But yeah, the 4K looked damn good, and this is one of those movies I'll always upconvert because I love this one. So go out and buy it. Another really underrated movie, in my opinion, and that is Dead Silence. And this is many people's pick for the worst James Wan film. And, you know, as much as I do like this film, I could probably agree with that, but that's just because James Wan has done so many really good movies. But I think this one's pretty underappreciated. I think it's creepy. I think it's creative. I think that some of the lore that he puts in here regarding this woman, this little witch that creates the little dolls and does the ventriloquism and stuff like that. If you don't have the ending spoiled for you, it's a pretty neat little twist. And so, aside from some of the more corny aspects here, like you got Donnie Wahlberg in here as like the real cliche seedy detective to where he actually has the little hand electric shaver. He's just shaving every single scene that he's talking. It's just like, dude, does your fucking hair grow like by the second? Nonetheless, I've always enjoyed this one. This was a Scream Factory 4K, so I wanted to check it out again and add it to the collection. So if you're a James Wan fan, people have scared you away from this one, check it out. You might like it more than you think. Speaking of underrated movies, man, one of the most underrated horror films ever created, The Exorcist III, and this is a 3-pack. You've got the 4K of the theatrical cut, you've got the Blu-ray of the theatrical cut, and you have the Blu-ray of the Legion Director's Cut. Now, before I talk about how amazing this film is, can we please stop with that bullshit where you make somebody buy a brand new 4K physical release and the director's cut is like just thrown in there, or the extended cut is just thrown in there, or disregarded altogether? Terminator 2 is the last one that did that that pissed me off, where you buy it and it's just like, oh, just a plain old theatrical cut. As many times, as many different sets that we've had that have all the different cuts of these movies, as soon as you go up to another a higher format, they go back to bare bones and make you buy it 7 more fucking times. Stop it! Nonetheless, Exorcist III. I think it's better than the original Exorcist. I really do. I think this is a fantastic horror film. I think it's genuinely creepy and unnerving. It's got a really good story, and for a film like The Exorcist that I have never felt merited a sequel, let alone a franchise, this does a damn good job with it. So, more than any of the other underrated movies on here, if you have been scared away from checking out The Exorcist III, please, my God, check out this movie. It's awesome. That's a go out and buy it all day long. Now we got an older film that I bought the 4K for that I have never seen the entire thing, and that is Cool Hand Luke. I've seen the vast majority of this movie multiple times. I remember the egg eating scene, the whole thing that a lot of us that grew up on some Guns N' Roses music always recognize. We got a failure to communicate. Or excuse me, what we've got here is a failure to communicate. Somebody would have corrected me on that one. I remember a lot about this. I remember loving this. This is one of the more celebrated classic movies, so I finally want to check out the whole thing. So I bought this. Oh, man. Again, we're on a theme here. Underrated movies. One of the best action films of all time, The Mask of Zorro, and this is the 4K Steelbook. I love this movie. This is not only one of the best action movies, it still holds up. I mean, this is the director of Casino Royale and GoldenEye, and it's just a kick-ass time. A really good story that kind of addresses the older versions of Zorro while bringing in this new generation that Antonio Banderas was going to be kind of the figurehead for. The sequel to this, The Legend of Zorro, not nearly as good, but this one, really good action sequences, really good characters, a really good solid story here. Genuinely one of my favorite action films of all time that not enough people talk about. Go out and buy that shit all day long. My favorite comedy of all time finally came to 4K, and that is Midnight Run. I adore this movie. You got Robert De Niro as a bounty hunter. You got Charles Grodin as this guy that embezzled a whole bunch of money from this mob boss. And so you have the FBI, other bounty hunters, and the mafia all kind of trying to take this guy down. And all the while, Robert De Niro is trying to get him back to LA so that he can get the money from the bail bondsman. It is one of the funniest movies ever made. I endlessly quote this thing. Every single time that I watch it, I die laughing from start to finish. So not too many comedies I can give really high accolades to and say that no matter how many times I've watched it, it still hits my funny bone the same way. This is one of them. So absolutely go out and buy this one. As far as older movies, that one might be the one that I want you to check out the most. And finally, we've got the 4K edition of Training Day, one of the best cop movies of all time. This got the Best Actor Academy Award for Denzel Washington, his second one. I think that Ethan Hawke is awesome here. It's just a really tense, dark, gritty storyline, and this kind of kicked off the career of many people, one of which being David Ayer, the guy that eventually went on to be somewhat of a prolific director, although he's had a little bit of a shaky track record as a director. But he wrote this movie, directed by Antoine Fuqua, that's went on to have a really nice career as a director as well, constantly working with Denzel, the Equalizer movies. So this is another one of those films that I would say, I doubt many of you have never seen it before, but if you are one of those people, definitely check this one out because it's absolutely a go out and buy it. All right, that is all of the Blu-rays that I purchased myself. Now let's get into all of these horror packs. So this is the first one, and since I'm 3 months behind on horror pack, I'm assuming this one was from February, maybe January. The last 3 months of horror pack are all here. So whatever months, we'll figure it out. So, first one up, we have Ill Final Contagion. I have never heard of this movie, but that's kind of a cool cover. It looks like Pennywise getting ready to whoop some ass. You got that one. You have Worst Laid Plans, and this is a horror pack limited edition Blu-ray, so this is one of those ones you can only get through horror pack. I've never heard of that one. You have Reunion. This is another one I've never heard of. This is a real hardcore mystery box this month. Got that one right there. And finally, Distorted with Christina Ricci and John Cusack. John Cusack's had a weird later part of his career, hasn't he? Just shows up in the most random shit. But yeah, I've never heard of this one either. So whatever month this was absolutely a mystery pack of Blu-rays. So if you've seen any of these four, please let me know down below which one to prioritize. So there's 1 month. Next up, we've got, oh, I got a slip cover. We've got Open 24 Hours. This is one I've never heard of too. And that's always a blessing and a curse. Sometimes you get a movie you never heard of, there's a reason you never heard of it, and sometimes you get a movie you never heard of, and all of a sudden you're the one person on the internet going, guys, check this out. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. We gamble in life. This is one of those times. Bad Dreams. This is the Horror Pack Limited Edition, so this is the one you could only get through them. Again, I've never heard of this one. The Best of Nightmares Film Festival 2022. Okay. Oh, God. Make it quick. I gotta poo. The Fanatic. Wow. Sadly, I already own this movie. Can you believe that? This is one of those movies that's so terrible that I had to own it because if I'm in the mood to just laugh at something, this is going to fill that void. I did a review for this movie. Just check it out. I don't know what happened with this thing, but that's hilarious that it made the pack. And The Forever Purge. Hey, I actually don't own this one, and I'm a completionist, and I was not going to buy this, so now I don't have to. There you go, The Forever Purge. I just checked this one out not too long ago for my my horror film franchise tier list. And now we've got the final horror pack. All right, first one. Is somebody trolling me? Horror pack, who's been talking to you? I already do own this. I own the 4K Blu-ray, so I can't talk too much shit. But nonetheless, yes, you have Halloween here. So you do get some major releases stuck into these once in a great while. Well, not once in a great while, about every other month you get a major release in here. They're pretty well balanced. Angel. That sounds familiar for some reason, although I'm sure I've never heard of it. Maybe it's just because it's the type of title that we've heard a bunch of times. This is the Horror Pack Limited Edition, so this is the one you only get through Horror Pack. Another slipcover. Night of the Animated Dead. That's interesting. The dark animated retelling of the 1968 Night of the Living Dead. Huh. That's actually pretty intriguing. Has anybody seen this? Is this good? Is this worth checking out? That's kind of cool. And finally we have, oh, this is a winner, aside from the fact that I hate double features. You got The Watcher and The Skeleton Key. Believe it or not, because I'm on this Keanu Reeves kick because of John Wick, I actually was thinking about The Watcher and wanting to check that out because I haven't seen it since it released. Skeleton Key, pretty decent movie. There's a funny story with that. My parents absolutely overhyped the living fuck out of that movie for me. They were like, it's so good, the ending's so shocking. And then I watched it and I figured out the ending like halfway through, and then I just trolled them for, that was like 2005, 2006, whenever the fuck this thing come out. Does it say? I don't know. I'm not going to look. 2000, who the fuck cares? Anyway, it's been a long time. And ever since then, I always bring up The Skeleton Key. I'm like, yeah, but you guys said The Skeleton Key was great. It's a pretty good movie, but it just overhyped for me. So this is cool. That's really interesting because The Skeleton Key I would not mind watching again. And The Watcher I've actually been wanting to watch again. But I hate double features that aren't like sequels, because where do I put this on my shelf? Do I put it under The Watcher? Do I put it under The Skeleton Key? Am I going to remember whenever I go to look for these movies? If I think of The Watcher and I can't find it, am I going to remember, oh, it's with The Skeleton Key? Stop doing that. Another 48 hours and 48 hours, that shit makes sense. This, don't do that anymore. But very cool. So this is actually probably the one that I like the most out of all three of these packs, believe it or not, even though I'm bitching about it. So there are the last three horror packs, guys. Again, if you want to subscribe to Horror Pack, I'll put a link down in the video description. There's different tiers. There's ones that have 2 Blu-rays, 3, 4, however many you want. Obviously, they go up in money with that. But if you like some of these, if you like kind of that game, that little gamble there about, especially if you don't have a big already physical media collection that you're trying to fill out with a lot of horror films, a very cool way to do it. So please check out Horror Pack. Please check out all of those movies that I recommended and let me know your thoughts on all of them down in the comment section below. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed this, please click over here for the playlist of all of my off-the-shelves videos. There's years of Blu-ray videos down there. I'm also going to put my entire Blu-ray collection video from like 2 years ago up here. It's massive. It's a 7-hour video. Please have fun. Watch it in chapters, or just go balls out, get a bowl of popcorn and watch it in one sitting if you're a super fan. Like, share, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything in the future, and as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.